Today we are reading Chaitanya Chaitamrit chapter 8, text 200. Actually you are speaking through my mouth, and at the same time you are listening. This is very mysterious. Anyway, kindly hear the explanation of the process by which the goal can be attained. Text 201. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna are very confidential. They cannot be understood through the mallows of servitude, fraternity, or parental affection. Actually, only the gopis have the right to appreciate these transcendental pastimes, and only from them can these pastimes be expanded. Without the gopis, these pastimes between Radha and Krishna cannot be nourished. Only by their cooperation are such pastimes broadcast. It is their business to taste the mallows. Without the help of the gopis, one cannot enter into the pastimes. Only one who worships the Lord in the ecstasy of the gopis, following of their footsteps, can engage in the service of Sri Sri Radha Krishna in the bushes of Vrindavan. Only then one can understand the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. There is no other procedure for understanding. The pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna are self-effulgent. They are happiness personified, unlimited, and all-powerful. Even so, the spiritual humors of such pastimes are never complete without the gopis, the Lord's personal friends. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is never complete without his spiritual potencies. Therefore, unless one takes the shelter of the gopis, one cannot enter into the company of Radha and Krishna. Who can be interested in their spiritual pastimes without taking their shelter? There is an inexplicable fact about the nature inclination of the gopis. The gopis never want to enjoy themselves with Krishna personally. The happiness of the gopis increases 10 million times when they serve to engage Sri Sri Radha and Krishna in their transcendental pastimes. By nature, Srimati Radharani is just like a creeper of love of Godhead, and the gopis are the twigs, flowers, and leaves of the creeper. When the nectar of Krishna's pastime is sprinkled on the creeper, the happiness derived by the twigs, flowers, and leaves is 10 million times greater than that derived by the creeper itself. All the gopis, the personal friends of Srimati Radharani, are equally hers. I'll read it again. All the gopis and personal friends of Srimati Radharani are equal to her. Krishna is pleasing to the inhabitants of Brajabhumi, just as the moon is pleasing to the lotus flower. His pleasure-giving potency is known as Aladani, of which the active principle of Srimati Radharani. She is compared to the creeper with the newly grown flowers and leaves. When the nectar of Krishna's pastime is sprinkled on Srimati Radharani, all her friends, the gopis, immediately appreciate the pleasure 100 times more than if they were sprinkled themselves. Actually, this is not at all wonderful. Although the gopis, Srimati Radharani's friends, do not desire to enjoy themselves directly with Krishna, Srimati Radharani makes a great endeavor to induce Krishna to enjoy himself with the gopis. Presenting various pleas for the gopis, Srimati Radharani sometimes sends the gopis to Krishna just to enable them to associate with him directly. At such times, she enjoys a happiness 10 million times greater than that enjoyed through direct association. The transcendental mallow is nourished by the mutual behavior in transcendental love of Godhead. When Lord Krishna sees how the gopis have developed pure love for him, he becomes very satisfied. It is to be noted that the natural characteristics of the gopis is to love the Supreme Lord. Their lusty desire is not to be compared to material lust. Nonetheless, because the desire sometimes appears to resemble the material lust, their transcendental love for Krishna is sometimes described as lust. Although the dealings of the gopis with Krishna are on the platform of pure love of Godhead, such dealings are sometimes considered to be lusty, but because they are completely spiritual, Uddhava and all the other dearmost devotees of the Lord desire to participate in them. Lusty desires are experienced when one is concerned with his own personal sense gratification. The mood of the gopis is not like that. Their only desire is to satisfy the senses of Krishna. Among the gopis there are not such a pinch of desire of sense gratification. Their only desire is to give pleasure to Krishna, and this is why they mingle with him and enjoy with him. All the gopis said, "Dear Krishna, we carefully hold your delicate lotus feet upon our hard breast. When you walk in the forest, your soft lotus feet are pricked by some bits of stones. We fear that this is paining you. Since you are our life and soul, our minds are very much disturbed when your lotus feet are pinned." One who is attracted by the static love of the gopis does not care about popular opinion or the regulative principle of Vedic life. Rather, he completely surrenders to Krishna and renders service unto him. If one worships the Lord on the path of spontaneous love and goes to Vrindavan, he receives the shelter of Brajendra Nandana, the son of Nandan Maharaj. In his liberated stage, the devotee is attracted by one of the five humors in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As he continues to serve the Lord in that transcendental mood, he attains the spiritual body to serve Krishna in Gokula Vrindavan. Those saintly persons who present the Upanishads are vividly examples of this. By worshipping the Lord on the path of spontaneous love, they attain the lotus feet of Vajendra Nandana, the son of Nandan Maharaj. The great sage just conquer the mind and senses by practicing the mystic yoga system and controlling the breath. Thus, engaging in mystic yoga, they see the super soul within their hearts and ultimately enter into impersonal Brahman. But even the enemies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead attain at that position simply by thinking of the Supreme Lord. However, the damsels of Braj, the gopis, being attracted by the beauty of Krishna, simply wanted to embrace him and his arms, which are like serpents. Thus the gopis ultimately tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, we Upanishads can also taste the nectar of his lotus feet by following in the footsteps of the gopis. The word Samadrash means, in the fourth line of the previous verse, means following the mood of the gopis. The word Sama means Srutis, attainment of the bodies like those of the gopis. The word Angiri Padma Sudha means associated intimately with Krishna. One can attain such perfection only by spontaneous love of God. One cannot obtain Krishna in Gokula Vrindavan simply by serving the Lord according to the regulative principles. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Madhya Yashoda, is accessible for those devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service. But he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, for those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or those who consider the body of the same as the self. Therefore, one should accept the mood of the gopis in the service. In such a transcendental mood, one should always think of the pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna. After thinking of Radha and Krishna and their pastimes for a long time, and after getting completely free from material contamination, one is transferred to the spiritual world. There, the devotee attains the opportunity to serve Radha and Krishna as one of the gopis. Unless one follows in the footsteps of the gopis, he cannot attain the service of the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. If one is overcome by knowledge of the Lord's opulence, he cannot attain the Lord's lotus feet, even though he is engaged in devotional service. The unspoken example of this connection is the goddess Fortune, who worshipped Lord Krishna in order to attain his pastimes in Vrindavan, but due to her opulent lifestyle, she could not attain the service of Krishna in Vrindavan. When Lord Sri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Rasa Leela, the gopis were embraced around the neck by the Lord's arms. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or the other consorts in the spiritual world, nor was such a thing ever imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets, girls whose bodily luster and aroma resemble the beauty and fragrance of lotus flowers. And what to speak of the worldly women, who may be very, very beautiful according to mental estimation. After hearing this, Lord Sri Chaitanya Prabhu embraced Ramananda Rai, and both of them, embracing shoulder to shoulder, began to cry. The entire night was passed in this way, in ecstatic love of Godhead. In the morning, they both departed to tend to their respective duties. Before departing from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Rai fell to the ground and caught hold of the Lord's feet, and then spoke submissively as follows. Sri Ramananda Rai said, "You have come here just to show me your courseless mercy. Therefore, stay here for at least 10 days and purify my polluted mind. But for you, there is no one who can deliver all the living entities, and you alone can deliver love for Krishna." The Lord replied, "Having heard about your good qualities, I have come here. I have come to hear about Krishna from you and thus purify my mind. Now that I have actually seen your glories, what I heard about you is confirmed. As far as the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in the loving mood are concerned, you are the limit of knowledge." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, to say nothing of 10 days, as long as I live, I shall find it impossible to give up your company. You and I shall remain together at Jagannath Puri. We shall pass our time together, enjoy talking about Krishna and his pastimes. In this way, they both departed to perform their respective duties. Then, in the evening, Ramananda Rai returned to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus they met time and time again, sitting in the secluded place and jubilantly discussing devotional service by the question and answer process. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the question and Sri Ramananda Rai gave the answers. In this way, they were engaged in discussion through the night. On one occasion, the Lord inquired, of all types of education, which is the most important? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then asked Ramananda Rai